The country is at war, the headlines are on fire, and gold and silver are falling anyway. Silver has been cut clean in half from where it was in January. Gold is down more than $1,500 from its record. And every rule you were ever taught says that when the world gets dangerous, these metals are supposed to go up, not down. So what on earth is going on? I am going to tell you the real reason, and it is not the reason you have been given. Let me take you back to the 2nd of August, 1990. It is the middle of the night in the Persian Gulf, and Saddam Hussein's tanks are rolling into Kuwait. By morning, the whole world knows there is going to be a war, and watch what gold does. In a matter of days, it jumps from around $365 an ounce to over $400. War broke out, and gold did exactly what your grandfather would have told you it would do. It ran for cover, and it dragged everybody's savings up with it. That was the rule. Trouble in the world meant up for gold. Everybody knew it. You could set your watch by it. Now look at this year. America has officially said we are at war, and gold and silver did not run. They fell. The metal just sat there like it never even read the newspaper. So here is the mystery this whole video is going to solve for you. Why are the metals ignoring a war? Why is the oldest safe haven money on earth acting like nothing is happening, right when the world is at its most dangerous? There is a real answer, and it is a single thing, and once you understand it, you will never again be fooled or frightened by what these metals do around a headline. I will give it to you before the end. So whatever you do, do not click away thinking silver is broken, because it is doing exactly what it is built to do. You just have not been shown the machine underneath it. For most of your life, you have been sold a simple story about gold and silver. War, up. Inflation, up. Chaos, up. Peace and good times, down. Clean and tidy. And I have to be honest with you, that story used to be mostly true back in your grandfather's day. But it has gone stale, and holding on to it now will cost you money. The old folks understood something we have forgotten in our hurry. They understood that metal responds to fear, yes, but only to fresh fear, fear that has not already been counted and priced and packaged up by the men who trade paper for a living. And these days there is almost no such thing as fresh fear anymore. That is the wisdom that slipped away from us, and getting it back is what this channel is about. My name is Hank, and for 35 years I have been stacking physical silver and gold, straight through the wars and the crashes and every panic in between. I am not a dealer, and I have nothing to sell you, no coins, no newsletter, no buy button. This is education and not financial advice, so please do your own homework. Now, before we go any further, I have to be honest with you. Only a very small number of the people who watch this channel are actually subscribed. If you love understanding what really moves the price of silver and gold, underneath all the noise, even half as much as I do, then do consider subscribing. It is completely free, and you can always change your mind later. It genuinely helps a working man keep making these. Right then, let us get into it, starting with the war that the metals just shrugged off. Here is the first thing you have to understand, and it is the plainest part. The war did not surprise anybody. For months before it was ever declared, the buildup was on every screen in the country. The strikes, the threats, the ships moving, and the market, the paper market where the price is actually set, does not wait for the official announcement. It moves ahead of time, on the expectation. So by the time the war was made official, the fear had already been counted. It was, as the traders like to say, already baked in. All the gold buying that a war is supposed to cause had happened weeks and months earlier, in dribs and drabs, while the rest of us were still reading headlines. By the day it became real, there was no fresh fear left to buy. It was old news to the only people whose buying moves the number. And here is the second piece, and it is the one that stings a little. There is a fatigue in this market right now, and you can feel it in every coin shop in America. People watched silver scream up to over $120 an ounce in January, and then they watched it get cut in half by summer. That kind of ride wears people out. A lot of folks who would normally rush in on a war headline are just plain tired. They got burned reaching for the top, and now they are sitting on their hands, over it, waiting to see. That exhaustion is a real force in the market, even though you will never see it printed on a chart. So here is your first action, right now. Stop watching the headlines to predict the metal. It does not work anymore, and it will only make you crazy. The war is not going to ring a bell and send silver to the moon. Turn off that part of your brain. I will show you what to watch instead, and it is sitting a lot closer to home than any battlefield. And do not let the summer fool you either. This is the slow season for metals every single year. Folks are on vacation, the trading desks are half empty, and the price tends to drift and doze through the hot months. Some of this quiet is nothing more than August being August. It is often the autumn when things wake up and get shaken loose, so a sleepy market today tells you very little about where you will be by the fall. Now let me pull back and show you the deeper thing, because this is the part almost nobody explains, and it is the real answer I promised you. The price of silver and gold that you see flashing on your screen is not set by the metal in my hand or yours, it is set in the paper market. For every single real ounce of silver sitting in a vault, there are dozens and dozens of paper claims on it being traded back and forth, contracts and promises and bets, most of them by people who never intend to touch an actual ounce of the stuff. That paper market is enormous, and it is fast, and it swamps the real metal. So when you see the price fall while the world burns, you are not watching people decide silver is worthless. You are watching a paper market get pushed around by big traders, by the strength of the dollar, and by bets on what the Federal Reserve is going to do next. The headline about the war is a firecracker. The paper market is the ocean, and the ocean does not much care about the firecracker. That is the whole answer, right there. The metals are not ignoring the war because the war does not matter. They are ignoring it because the price is set in a place where the war was already old news months ago, and where the dollar and the interest rate hold far more sway than any headline ever will. It is not a conspiracy against you. It is just money, just the plumbing of a giant paper market doing what it does. But knowing that changes everything about how you should act, because here is what that paper price cannot see, and this is where you should sit up. It cannot see the shelf going bare. Underneath all the paper, in the real world where you and I actually buy, the physical metal is getting harder to keep in stock. Walk into a good coin shop right now and ask for a full ounce of gold. In a lot of shops, they are hard to keep on the shelf at all. When the price dipped under $4,000 this year, every fellow who had been sitting on the sidelines waiting for a bargain came in at once, and the full ounces went out the door as fast as they came in, because the full ounce carries the lowest markup and gives you the most gold for your money. That is not a market that hates gold. That is a market that cannot get enough of it at these prices, even while the paper number falls. The paper says one thing, the shelf says the opposite. Learn to watch the shelf, and the shelf is telling quite a story right now, if you know how to read it. Gold is the one that is held up. It came down off its record, sure, but it did not get cut in half the way silver did, and that steadiness has made it the thing everyone wants. The full gold ounces, the American eagles and buffaloes, have been the hardest thing in the whole shop to keep in stock. Silver has been moving too, the eagles and the buffalo rounds and the maple leafs going out as fast as they come in. But here is a detail most people miss. The United States Mint has been selling far fewer silver eagles this year to the big primary dealers, and those dealers are all well stocked anyway. Why? Because the public is selling enough of their own silver back into the shops to keep everybody supplied. When the price is down, the shops do not need to go begging the mint for more, because ordinary people, the ones who need to raise a little cash, are steadily feeding metal back into the system. That is the balance of a market finding its footing, not the collapse of one. And underneath it all, the smart stackers, the patient ones, are stepping in and buying silver at half of what it cost in January and thanking their lucky stars for the chance. And let me give you a piece of proof about what real metal is truly worth, once you strip away the paper games. There is a Roman coin called the denarius, a little silver piece about the size of a dime. 2,000 years ago, one of those small silver coins was a full day's wages for a working man, a laborer or a Roman soldier, a whole day of a man's sweat for one small piece of silver. Now think about that. If silver were still priced the way it was priced across most of human history, an ounce of it would buy a day of a good man's labor, which today would be well over $100, maybe $200. Silver at $66 an ounce is not expensive. By the long measure of history, it is on the clearance rack, and the market has a memory. Real things find their real worth again. They always have, even if the paper price wanders off for a while. And if you want proof of what people will pay for real silver once the paper games fall away, look at what the oldest American silver dollar fetched. The 1794 flowing hair silver dollar, believed to be the very first silver dollar this country ever struck, sold at auction for around $12 million. $12 million for one silver coin. Now that is a rare collector's piece, and I am not telling you your junk silver is worth that. I am telling you that when human beings decide they want real silver in their hands, there is almost no limit to what they will pay for it, and no headline and no paper contract has ever changed that fact for very long. Now let me name the fear that will actually move this market, because it is not the one you have been watching. Here is the thing about this war: as frightening as the headlines are, most Americans do not truly feel it in their gut. Nobody in this country believes the fighting is coming to their street. It is terrible, and it is on the news, but it is far away, and faraway fear does not move metal the way a threat to your own kitchen table does. The fear that actually lights a fire under gold and silver is not fear of a foreign army, it is fear of your own money. It is the day people look at their portfolio, at the tech stocks, at the price of oil creeping back up and pinching them at the pump, at prices that have not stopped climbing since the year 2020, and they start to wonder whether the dollars in their account will hold their worth at all. That fear, the fear of the paper itself, is the one that sends people running to metal, and that fear is not driven by a war, it is driven by debt, and printing, and a currency being stretched thinner every year. That fear is still out in front of us, it has not arrived yet. And there are real embers of it already glowing, if you know where to look. The price of oil has been spiking again, and oil is attached to just about everything you buy, so that works its way into every price on the shelf. Inflation has been running hotter than the government's own 2% target ever since the year 2020, and they have not been able to fully wrestle it back down. Now, I am old enough to remember inflation up in the high teens back in my younger days, so I am not going to sit here and tell you the sky is falling today. But I will tell you this: a slow leak in the value of your dollars, year after year after year, does more quiet damage to a family than any single scary headline ever will. And metal is the oldest patch there is for that particular leak. That is the fear worth preparing for, and it does not announce itself on the evening news. Here is something else the old rule book cannot explain, and it is worth saying out loud. The models are broken. For most of my life you could roughly guess what the metals would do. War, they went one way. Inflation, another. A rate cut, a rate hike, you could sketch it out. But over these last few years, none of that reliably works anymore. The metals have started doing their own thing, marching to their own drum, ignoring the patterns that held for decades. Some of that is the paper market I described. Some of it is the sheer amount of money that has been printed, sloshing around looking for a home. And I suspect this is just the new normal, and after this one there will be another new normal after it. Which is exactly why, if you are truly a stacker, none of the daily news should move you at all. Not the war, not the inflation report, not the jobs number. You just work your plan and build your pile, week after week, and let the gamblers lose their minds over the headlines. And that is exactly why the big banks, the same ones who trade all that paper, are still calling for far higher prices even while the metal falls. One of the biggest houses on Wall Street, Bank of America, is still on record looking for gold to head toward $5,000 and $6,000 an ounce. They are not looking at the war, they are looking at the debt and the dollar, at the machine underneath. And you can look at the very same machine from your own kitchen table without paying anyone a dime for the privilege. If you bought near the top this January and you are watching all this in the red right now, I want to say this to you plainly: this is not on you, and you are not a fool. You did the thing a lifetime of common sense told you to do. You saw danger in the world, and you reached for real money. The only thing that tripped you up was timing, and timing is the one thing nobody on earth does perfectly, not even the banks. Do not let a red number today talk you out of the soundest instinct you have. So here is your one cheap entry ticket, the thing you can do this week for the price of a tank of gas. Do not try to trade the war. Instead, go buy one single full ounce of silver or one small 10th ounce of gold, whichever your budget allows, and just tuck it away, not to flip on the next headline, to own, because you are not buying a bet on today's news. You are buying a small piece of the one form of money that does not depend on any government staying honest or any war ending well. And whatever you do, do not sell your metal because the headlines confused you into thinking it stopped working. It never stopped working. The scoreboard was just rigged to a different game than you thought you were watching. So let me pull all the way back and give you the whole sweep of it. Why are silver and gold falling while the world is at war? Because the war was already counted months ago in a paper market that dwarfs the metal, because the people are tired from the wild ride in January, and because the dollar and the Fed are pulling harder on that paper price than any headline can. The old rule, war up, is dead, and clinging to it will only break your heart. But underneath that paper price, the shelf is going bare, the shortage is real, and the fear that truly moves metal, the fear of the money itself, has not even shown up yet. When it does, you will want to already be holding, not scrambling to buy in the crowd. Because in the end, this was never about predicting the next headline. It is about what you decide to be while everyone else is confused and afraid. You can be the person who owns real money before the fear arrives, instead of the one chasing it after. You can be your own bank, your own safe harbor, a person who cannot be switched off no matter which way the news breaks tomorrow. The men who understood this in every generation before us slept fine through every war on the front page because their money was in their own hands, not in somebody's promise. Be that person. Let me ask you two things down in the comments, and I read every one that I can. First, tell me the last time a big scary headline made you want to buy gold or silver, and whether you actually did it or just thought about it. And second, tell me honestly, what frightens you more for your own money right now, a war overseas, or the dollars sitting in your own bank account? I want to see the pattern, because it never stops teaching me something. Thank you for spending this time with me. It truly means the world that a working man's plain talk about real money is worth an hour of your day. Stack smart, look after your own, and I will see you next time. And when that next time comes, subscribe, because I am going to walk you right up to that sell button. Silver just crashed, your gut is screaming at you to get out, and I am going to show you the one honest question you have to answer before you sell a single ounce. Get it wrong, and you will be handing your silver to the very people who will sell it back to you at triple the price.